Hello, and welcome to Math Extra, the show that puts you on the right path in math. I'm Miss Green, and I'm excited to be your instructor today. If you're watching this show, you've got to be ready to learn. And since math is everywhere in everything we do, Math Extra is the right show for you. So here's how it works. We'll start the show with a 6th grade lesson, which I'll teach. Then we'll have a 7th grade lesson taught by Mr. Leischner. And finally, an 8th grade lesson taught by Mr. O'Neill. 6th graders, are you ready? Because I'm ready, so let's do the math on Math Extra. So let's begin. We'll start with the warm-up, which is also a refresher. Number 1, identify the variable, constant, coefficient, terms, and all the operations in the below expression. And we know it's an expression because it doesn't have an equal sign. We have 9x plus 5y minus 7. And the variables are always going to be a part of the alphabet. Clearly we have x and we have y. Those are our variables. Next, let's talk about the constant. Remember, a constant will never change and is never attached to a variable. Our constant is 7. Let's talk about the coefficient. The coefficient will always be attached to the variable and in front. Think of a co-pilot. The coefficients are 9 and 5. So now let's talk about terms. Terms are always going to be separated by your plus signs and your minus signs, or addition and subtraction signs. They're the same. We have 9x, 5y, and 7. That means we have 3 terms in this expression. Let's now identify all of our operations. Sometimes they're sneaky to identify. 9x, think of side by side means multiply. We have multiplication. We also have addition. That's an operation as well. Think about order of operations if you can't remember. We have 5y. That's also multiplication. And then we have minus 7. Minus, subtraction, is also an operation. Let's discuss number 2. An equilateral triangle has a side length of 2 3/10 x plus 4. Equilateral triangle, what we know? The sides are all equal. We can solve this by the distributive property. Let's take a look. We have 3 times 2/3. We can go out to the side and multiply that. We have 6 9/10 as the answer. And actually it's 6 9/10 x. Now we have 3 times 4, which is 12. So let's write that a little bit neater. Our final answer, which is the perimeter of the triangle, specifically equilateral triangle, is 6 9/10 x plus 12. Next, let's talk about number 3. Ms. Christian, the principal at Northeast Middle School, calculated the average age of students for each grade. Her findings are detailed below. Calculate the average of ages of student body at Northeast Middle School. Don't get confused with this. We're not talking about the grade levels, we're talking about the ages. So we don't really even need to calculate 6th, 7th, and 8th because that's the grade. We need to calculate the average, which is the sum of the numbers in our data set divided by how many numbers there are. We have 11 plus 12 plus 13. I'll take a guess. I believe that is 36. We have 3 numbers, 11, 12, and 13. 36 divided by 3 is 12. So that means the average age of the student body at Northeast Middle School is 12 years old. Okay, since we're done with our warm-up, let's take a look at our lesson. The lengths of the sides of a pentagon are shown. Express the perimeter in terms of x. And if you're visual like me, you love graphics. One side is 2x plus 1. And remember, we're finding the perimeter, which means we're adding up all the sides. The next side is 3x. Remember to stay nice and neat so you can read your handwriting. Finally, we have 2x minus 1. And lastly, we have another plus x. Remember, stay neat. This can get a little messy. Now let's combine our like terms. We have 2x plus 3x plus another 3x plus 2x plus this x hanging out all by itself. Now what I like doing, I like circling and boxing, just so I can stay neat. Let's box our 1. We have another 1. Oh, and we have a minus 1 here. Let's get started with combining our like terms. 2x plus 3x plus 3x plus 2x. Looks like a pattern there. 2 plus 3, that's 5, plus 3, that's 8, plus 2, that's 10. It's not just 10, it's 10x. Now that we've gotten rid of all of our coefficients and variables, let's start handling all the numbers that are hanging out by itself. We have 1 plus another 1 minus a 1. So 1 plus 1 is 1? No. 1 plus 1 is 2. Minus 1 gives you a plus 1. Am I finished? I think I made a mistake. What about this x over here by itself? I think I made a mistake. 2x plus 3x plus 3x plus 2x, it does give me 10x, but remember, in front of the variable that's hanging out all by itself, it's understood that a 1 is in front of that variable. So it's actually 11x plus 1 is your final answer. Did you guys get that? What do you think? Do you want to try another? Let's try another. Let's take a look at this. Which expression shows the average of the numbers x, y, z, and t? This reminds me of our warm-up, our refresher. Remember we were talking about averages? You just add up all the numbers in the data set and then you divide by how many numbers there are. Luckily, we don't have any numbers, we have variables. So, what do we know? Before we choose our answer, let's do a process of elimination. I like test-taking skills when I'm unsure of myself. So I do know there's going to be 4 numbers. So I understand we're going to divide by 4 at some point. And I do know that we're going to add x, y, z, and t. And they're different variables, which means they're different numbers, so we're not going to combine those. So automatically, I know that A is incorrect. Do you understand that? You understand how I got A is incorrect? Because x plus y plus z and t, they're different. They're not the same number. So there's no way we can add those together. Yet. B looks like what I'm saying, but B is incorrect because we forgot to divide by 4. Remember, when we're talking about average, we're adding and we're dividing. Okay, I'm down to C and I'm down to D. Let's try to figure that one out. I know I'm going to divide by 4, so D is the logical answer. Let's review what I just said. The question is, which expression shows the average of the numbers x, y, z, and t? I chose D because we're adding x, y, z, and t. That's the first step when you're averaging numbers. The next step is division. After we've communicated or solved for the sum of those numbers, we're going to divide next. The reason why C is incorrect is because we're not going to divide by these variables. We're going to divide by how many numbers are in the data set. So we have x plus y plus z plus t divided by 4, and that's how you find your average. So 6th graders, what did we learn today? We talked about constants, variables, combining like terms. We even did some distributive property with that equilateral triangle in the warm-up. I hope you learned so much. Remember, when in doubt, work it out. And also, use your process of elimination. On Math Extra, our goal is to help you build your skills in math. And to help you, we need to hear from you. So let us go to the Math Extra phone lines and see who has a question for us. Hello, caller.
Hi, I'm here.
What's your name?
I'm Elena.
Hi, Elena. What school do you go to?
I go to Northeast Middle.
Northeast Middle School. That's my school. So what's your question, Elena?
In the expression 8x plus 9y minus 7, why can't we add those terms together?
Okay, just want to make sure that I have your question. Did you say 8x plus 9y minus 7? Your question is, why can't we add all of those terms together?
Correct.
All right, well, let's take a look. Remember, terms are always separated by the operations of addition signs and minus signs, which we have. We have 8x, 9y, and 7. They're all different because they have different variables. We have an x, we have a y, and then the 7 is actually the constant. There's no variable attached to it.
Neat.
So therefore, we cannot combine them because they do not have like terms. They are all different. We have 8x plus 9y minus 7. Does that make sense to you?
It does.
Perfect. Alrighty, CMS 6th graders. It's time for the Math Extra credit. Solve the problem, send us your answer, and we'll post it on the show. The perimeter of a square is 50 inches. Calculate the side length of one side. Can you believe it? That's the end of our 6th grade lesson on Math Extra. Coming up next, Mr. Leischner has a lesson for 7th grade. Thank you so much for joining us. And remember, just because we're not in school right now doesn't mean we stop learning. I promise you, all of your hard work, it will pay off. I'll see you soon.